871-7000. And again, in case a part of that may not have been put out there, good afternoon and welcome to the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show, Easter weekend. So happy Friday, Good Friday to you, and happy Easter to you. As I was saying, that we will spend, most of us are going to be spending Easter with our friends and family. So our Sunday morning talk block will be replays of previous shows. So you can look forward to that and join us Sunday morning before you get together with the crazy relatives and go to church and all. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. It's how you reach into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. Solo on the board today, so their calls will be cold answered. There'll be no screening, so understand when you call in, you're just going to hear a click, listen to the station, and then you're going to hear me say, hey, who's the caller? Welcome type of thing. So as long as you understand that. We are live streaming on the TuneIn app. You just punch in WCRN on TuneIn. Take us anywhere. Always have us available and ready to go. We are live streaming on Facebook and Twitter today at Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. YouTube channel, the Joe Mangiacotti Show, and LinkedIn page, as well as Twitch TV. Twitch TV is at Joe M Show. And Twitch TV is an interesting phenomenon, I guess, not being all that familiar with it until recently. And apparently it's a channel that's mostly known for people streaming themselves playing video games. So it's a channel where people watch people play video games. So they're not playing the game. They're watching other people have fun and play a game, and not even a physical game. So it's not like you're watching a sporting event, right? Not like you're watching people with the incredible athletic ability and prowess that you can't do it yourself, but you enjoy watching Major League Baseball, NFL, hockey, basketball, whatever your thing is. No, this is watching people play video games. I don't get it. I guess that's something this generation's into. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. I wanted to, I mentioned this before, folks, and I got one earlier today. Again, a text from Nancy Pelosi. Now, I didn't sign up for this, and I'm thinking maybe somebody did sign me up for this, and they thought it was funny. But 11:30 this morning, I get this text from an 833 number. The official photograph of the Crypt Keeper there, of her in a kind of a teal sweater or whatever it is, blazer. And it says, it's Speaker Pelosi. Do you have a moment? And she goes on to CNN, revealed the most vulnerable Republican Senate seats in the election. And we have now to act. And they list Mark Rubio is now in danger of losing his seat in Florida, according to Speaker Pelosi. What say you? Do you think that Mark Rubio is in danger? This is speaking to a bigger issue on the Democrats or those Democrats that are very far on the left and so elite and in that bubble. They just don't believe that a red wave's coming in any shape or form. Hearing some chat on one of the shows this morning, they were running different talking heads over the weekend, and some Democrat talking head saying, the Republicans are fooling themselves. It's not going to happen. So what say you? Is it denial? Because there are a good number of Democrats, and usually they're more the Joe Manchin type of ones, right? The middle of the road, the more common sense Democrats that do exist out there. They just get drowned out by the squad in the stupidness and the silliness out there, right? So you don't hear them. You don't get to hear from them because they get drowned in all the noise, and the media isn't going to give. The media has turned to people like Bill Maher and start calling him, and he's no longer liberal. And he made a good point sometime in the last week or two on his show, almost Ronald Reagan-ish, right? I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. Bill Maher saying the same things. I haven't changed. If you go back 20 years, 30 years, I had the same positions. I didn't change. The party changed. So she's listing Mark Rubio is now in danger of losing his seat in Florida. She's saying Ron Johnson is losing his seat in Wisconsin. I need you to understand what this means. This is, again, a text from Nancy Pelosi's organization, right? If Democrats spring into action to flip these two Senate seats, Mitch McConnell's hopes of regaining the Senate will be gone in an instant. And then there's a link to donate. I'm not even going to press the link, for Christ's sakes. I don't even want my phone to get connected to that in any way, shape, or form. She says, I'm launching an immediate response to take advantage of this amazing swing in Democrats' favor. I need 1,414 gifts before midnight to put my plan into action. Now, wouldn't this be funny and not funny? If this wasn't Nancy at all, like, well, what if somebody was sending out to people who think they're who somehow they determine is politically active? Now, they got me wrong as far as who I'd support, right? But if you hit this link and it's not really going to them, somebody made up a website and they're getting all these donations, and you think you're donating to Nancy Pelosi. And this could happen. I've always said this to you. Be very careful about when you don't, not just politics, right? When you donate to charities or anything else, make sure you actually have the right organization. And then again, make sure you have the right organization. And what I mean by that is BLM organization, not the right organization, right? They got about the mansion in Canada, now the one in California is $60-something million. Nobody can really put a finger on. But back to this text. So if Democrats spring into action, they flip these seats. I'm launching this immediate response to take advantage of these amazing swing Democrats' favor. This back to the 1414 gifts before midnight to put our plan into action, reinforcements to critical races all over the country. Can I count on your $15 in this? Make it or break it. $15. So how many people are willing to cough over $15 million? That would be interesting. I don't know. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let me go to the phones. You are on the air. Sorry, there's no screening. Who do I have?
Yeah, you got Mark. How you doing?
Good, Mark. What's happening?
Yeah, I read the. What do you think you're gonna get from Nancy's handlers? Something stating that they think they're gonna get their butts kicked in the midterm elections.
Well, if this is truly from her or her organization, and for some reason they think my number they have is sympathetic to Democrats. Naturally, they're spinning this way, and I said this in the opening. There seems to be this complete denial among certain Republicans. Democrats. They just don't accept what the reality of the situation is.
When's the last time they have?
All right.
40 years ago?
Yeah.
40 years ago, maybe.
Point well
taken. The last thing I want to bring up is 2 days ago, the Post ran a good article on BLM. And it seems that they have acquired a new property on Laurel Canyon Road in Studio City, California. It's a nice mansion. It's not overly ostentatious. It's only $6 million. And it's on Laurel Canyon Road in Studio City, California. And I looked up the demographics of Studio City, California. And they got like maybe 6% black population in Studio City, California. It seems to be a pattern with BLM, doesn't it? Very similar to the demographic breakdown of the 3 properties that they bought in Topanga Canyon.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to tell you, I mean, the one they bought, the LA one too, right? But the thing about that one, Mark, is the $2.8 million increase in a matter of days. That's the story. That is what I'd like to know. This evangelist, this some kind of religious person, right? Bought this thing for $3 million or 3.1 or something. They turn around and
The
they
one
sell
in
it.
Studio City?
Well, this is the one in L.A., whatever it is.
Studio City.
Oh, is that what they call that area? Studio City?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, but they sold it. They bought it for $5.8 or $9 million. But the person who sold it to him had just bought it a matter of months ago for $3 million. So, who's the money laundering? What's that all about? Who buys a mansion or anything? I don't care what the house is. Who buys anything a couple months later, any piece of property for pretty much twice what it was paid for then?
Well, it's easy. It's easy. It's OPM, other people's
Yeah,
money.
You got it. It absolutely is, which is why my point is,
what the hell do they care?
they don't care
It's
because it isn't their
OPM.
money. There isn't the money,
money.
And they bullied all these corporations into writing checks, and now you've got, and I'm watching black activists from BLM on there now saying that the 990, right? So when you're what BLM is registered as, right, a nonprofit charity type of thing,
right?
You all file your disclosure paperwork, people. This has nothing to do with your race or the purpose of the organization. As long as your organization meets the criteria of a charity, that also means how much money you're allowed to have on hand and so forth. They all file it, but she's twisting it now to say that this 990 form seems like an attack, and it's very racist that they have to do the financial disclosures and reporting that every other charity on the planet in this country has to do. They shouldn't have to do it because it's racist, Mark.
The form is not exclusionary. The IRS doesn't care what your skin color is. You got to fill out the forms.
You got it. You absolutely do.
100%.
Thank you, Mark. Always appreciate the call. Absolutely. But that's something I had mentioned. I was going to get to that. Did you catch this thing on this, that this whole transaction now all of a sudden, because people, and we saw this for a couple of years, right? If you ask any questions about BLM organization, and I got to say this again, only because I don't want the asinine, stupid tweets about racism and stuff that I get, or not tweets, but messages and texts. There's a very big difference, folks, between BLM organization and BLM movement. Nobody really has a problem with the movement. Who would? But the organization is as corrupt as the day is long. And they need to be investigated because no one's really in charge of this. And then apparently they use the same law firm that the Clintons used to pull their stuff. And nobody can account for this money, and nobody's really in charge of it. So what is going on? File the darn disclosures, explain where the money went, and be careful who you donate. Joe Mangiacotti Show, Friday edition on this Good Friday. Stick with us. Back on the other side.
Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Fluorescent lamps. Fluorescent lamps. Thermometers. Thermometers. Thermostats. Thermostats. These could all contain mercury, so let's dispose of them properly. Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly.
Mercury is harmful to human health and the environment. To learn what products in your home may contain mercury and where to safely dispose of them, please contact your local Board of Health or Department of Public Works or visit keepmercuryfromrising.org.
Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly.
Visit keepmercuryfromrising.org, because together we can keep our environment safe. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
Good day. This is Noel from Computer Hospital at 653 Chandler Street in Worcester. COVID-19 is upon us, and the Computer Hospital is here to help with your home office as well as keeping your PCs up and running so you can stay in touch. 19 is upon us, and the Computer Hospital is Friday 9 to 7, Saturday and Sunday 10 to 6. Call me at 508-314-1391. The Computer Hospital, 508-314-1391. 653 Chandler Street in Worcester. 508-314-1391.
How will the recent massive data breach affect you? Is your personal information at risk? If you are a Discover credit card member, there's an important action you can take to help protect yourself right now. Go online and sign up for Discover's free Social Security alerts. Once activated, we will alert you if your Social Security number is found on any one of thousands of risky websites. Learn more and sign up for free alerts at discover.com/free alerts. Limitations apply.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. And now back to the most interesting man in the world. When he drives a car off a lot, the value goes up. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second quarter of the hour here, the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on this Good Friday, Easter weekend. Happy Easter to you. Again, Sunday morning, folks, we'll do some replays. So even though I really look forward to you joining us on Easter Sunday morning, you'll have myself, Mike Wade, Peter Blute, all doing our thing, just replays from earlier shows. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. And again, solo in the studio today, so no call screener. You're just going to hear some clicks in the station, and then you'll hear me say you're on the air. We are streaming on the TuneIn app, and we're also live streaming with video, just a different angle from the control room here, folks. But the same thing as you always do, go and watch it on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and Twitch TV. So this is kind of scary that this new thing out in California, people, and apparently the authorities are saying there are 17 gangs who have orchestrated and are doing this as it's a job, that they are following people home. And these gangs are very organized in the way they do this. They target somebody based on the car they're driving and the jewelry that they're wearing. This is kind of scary, because what if you work a little hard, right, to get that Beamer, or you buy that pre-owned Mercedes, whatever. You're driving a nice car, you have a decent watch on and stuff. They target you while you're out and about, and they follow you home. I've always have told people and told my friends about situational awareness as a guy who, follow people for a living, put people under surveillance, something I've done since I was a teenager, started working for a PI out of Sherburne. You should be aware of things like this. For no other reason, you just know what the heck is going on around you, right? So these gangs, 17 of them they've identified, and now it comes out that 46 people have been arrested. And apparently they had started this task force in California a little while ago, because this has been a problem, just hasn't been that publicized. I suppose on top of all of the other crime, on top of all of the other criminals being released early, of all those people who aren't being charged, especially all of those violent, well, they were peaceful protesters according to CNN, but the ones who were actually violent mobs type mentality, right, who burnt buildings, assaulted people, right, looted, all those things. Most of those charges have been dropped, or very slap on the wrist type of thing. So on top of all that, they didn't want to add the fact that if you look like you had a little money, you didn't even realize you were a target till you got home and you got out of your car, and then there's a Glock in your face, or your head over the head, and you're robbed of your jewelry, your cash, and your car. So out of these 46 arrested, over half of them are no longer in custody, by the way. So if this is happening in California, like most anything that takes off in California, it moves through the country. So it's probably happening in other communities, but we don't hear about things on mainstream media. Remember that aspect, right? We always got to remember that. Sometimes the only place you're going to hear about some of these things, other than here on this show or other independent talk shows, maybe Newsmax, maybe Fox. Even Fox doesn't hit it all. So I needed to address this. So if you're listening to me, whether you're in the terrestrial radio station, you're streaming it, and I know over the years, people in Alabama, right? I've gotten calls from Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, because of TuneIn. Wherever you are, please be aware of your surroundings. Pay attention. And I'm not going to be the guy to say, don't wear the Rolex. Don't not wear the wedding ring or the gold. I'm certainly not going to leave the Rolex or the tag at home. And I happen to drive cars that people would consider that, and I'm not going to change that because of this. But I do pay attention to who's around me when I walk out to my car. I pay attention to the cars following me. Please do the same thing. I hate to find out that somebody who listens to this show ended up being the victim of something like this. That would be horrible. Fixed rate, 30-year mortgage high. Right, 30-year fixed rate is at a 10-year high right now. So the mortgages, because the inflation is driving up, the Fed and the overnight rates are going to go up. Now, the overnight rate in mortgage industry, folks, that's the rate at which banks borrow money with each other. It's called the overnight rate. When that clips up, mortgage rates are going to clip up. So although I have a background experience in real estate and mortgages, that's not this show. Guys like Doug Rowan and Jerry Doherty, these are guys that you depend on for all the financial advice. But given the fact that rates are going to go up and so forth, maybe it's a time to accelerate a decision or settle into a long-term move on the real estate front if you're going to do that. Just saying. All right, so 508-871-7000 lines open and available. Again, no screening, so it's a cold answer, folks, but you're welcome to join the conversation at any time, 508-871-7000. Well, the buses are still coming in. What the heck are you talking about, Joe? Well, the third bus carrying illegal immigrants from Texas arrived in Washington this morning. And what I'm talking about is that both governors of Florida and Texas are at the end of their rope. I was talking about this the other day. They're done. They're exhausting their resources. They cannot protect their citizens. They cannot service their tax-paying citizens. And they feel that if Joe Biden administration is going to allow a porous border, then the misery should be shared, or to share the wealth, if you will. And they've decided that the easiest thing to do, and attention, Jen Psaki, this is not a forced kidnapping situation. She thought she was very cutesy the other day when she said that all of the people getting on these buses have been processed by Customs and Border Patrol. So thank you very much to the governors if they want to assist them in reaching their final destination. Very clever, Jen. You are one witty person. Good luck with that MSNBC show. Point is, Governor Abbott is making available to the illegals once they are processed. So understand this, right? They come over, they get processed, Border Patrol does their thing. These people are given paperwork. And this paperwork is going to include, among some things, either an order to appear or an order to report. And it's going to identify them, or at least as best as the Border Patrol people can confirm who they are. But it allows them to be here. Okay, so you can't remove them. They're here. They're allowed to be here until they play out their proceedings. But if they're given this order to report, given the numbers, hundreds of thousands a month coming over the border illegally, it's not like we have the manpower to be chasing these people down if they don't report in 30 or 60 days. And we don't even have the manpower to go get them if they have an order to appear which, by the way, folks, they're exactly what they sound like. The order to report just simply says, hey, you can go wherever you want in the country, but at one point, report to the local customs office, immigration office, rather, and just report in there. The other that says appear literally says you are commanded to appear at this hearing on this date and time. That's a very different form, okay? But that paperwork that they give them not only allows them to move freely within the United States, it allows them to work legally. So they get this process, they grab this paper, and they're off and running, and they can go wherever they want. So Abbott's saying, hey, I'm going to provide this bus. It's totally optional. You get on the bus, and we're going to take you. And it seems like they're going to be changing things up, right? They brought them to New York City the other day. They brought them near the Capitol, right? Dropped them off near the Fox office. They're talking about bringing a group of them to Martha's Vineyard, to Rehoboth Beach in Delaware, where Joe Biden resides with the beachfront property. The third bus transporting illegal immigrants from Texas arrived at about 8 o'clock this morning. Fox caught some of the news, about 30 of the immigrants on board, and men, women, children. And the thing about this is, because I've been watching the video, and the majority of the people getting off the bus are young men. Now, there are some young men coming off, and it looks like maybe it's the wife and kids. But the majority of them are young, healthy men of working age, who seem to be physically fit and well-dressed, by the way. Right? I'm watching the illegal immigrants fleeing countries because of hardships or persecution or whatever the particular situation calls for. And I got to be impressed with some of them coming off. Now, Jesse Waters was talking about this on the 5 the other day, yesterday, I think it was. And I thought it was interesting because I agreed. I noted the same thing. Some of these guys getting off in, we're talking full Nike gear, head to toe, very clean and well kept. So I want to talk about this a little bit. And we do have a caller. Caller, you're on hold. I'll go right to you after the break here. But we do have to take a break here on the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Easter weekend, that is, Good Friday. So we'll take the break. I'll come back. I'll go right to the phones, and I'll continue with this bus situation that we have going on and the pros and cons of it. And what say you on it? 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. You agree with it? You think it's a good thing? You think it's just a stint? Or do you think that everybody in the country, especially those responsible, should see what it's like to have thousands or at least hundreds of immigrants just being dropped off in your neighborhood? And it's dropped off. The feds have dropped off in Texas, so it's working to a degree.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spearman. Here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. We are in for a gorgeous afternoon with mostly sunny skies, maybe just a few scattered clouds mixing in. Expect high temperatures in the mid to upper 60s in most local towns and cities. Now, you might catch a couple of gusts between 20 and 30 miles per hour. Not a damaging wind, just something that you're going to notice. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spearman. You can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
93% of adults listen to the radio each week. Of those exposed to radio ads, over half made a purchase. Despite how often the media reports on newer forms of advertising, it is, in fact, free broadcast radio that most effectively reaches and truly influences customers. Radio allows you to place your company's message directly to the radio audience for 30 or 60 seconds, and it's a gold mine. Radio advertisements are more memorable compared to written and visual ads. It's just this simple. Sound is stored more effectively inside memories. Reach over 90% of this market's potential customers with your radio message on WCRN Full Service Radio. Call station manager Chris Thompson at 508-870-5803 extension 222 or visit WCRNradio.com.
Focus on your health with the Frankie Boyer Show, weekdays at 2 on Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN.
I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and I'm asking you to now join me Mondays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Our Sunday morning political talk block is still intact, so wake up Sundays, 6 a.m. The Joe Mangiacotti Show, the tradition continues.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email text Joe on the radio at gmail.com. And now back to the most interesting man in the world. His tears cure cancer. Too bad he never cries. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Don't forget, we are live streaming on the TuneIn app. You can take us anyway. Just punch WCRN in and hit the little like button or favorite so that it's easy to get to anytime. And not just my show, but all the great shows and programming here on WCRN. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Let me jump to the phones because we have Dawn here who's waiting patiently. Hey, Dawn, you're on. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
What's happening?
Yes, I was listening to your segment regarding situational awareness and couldn't agree more. I recommend listeners 2 additional bits of body adornment that I often sport. One is a beautiful diamond ring that my wife got me, and the other is a crisp and shiny 380 Smith & Wesson that mounts smartly on my hip.
I have the 380 Bodyguard. Do you know that one from Smith & Wesson, right? It's the equivalent of the Walther PBKS.
Yes.
Yeah, same gun essence. And
any self-protection is highly recommended.
Yeah. They are, both of those are beautiful pieces of accessory. I have the 380 and the Rolex. So and my father's Masonic gold ring is what I sport. So yeah, but look, I've been talking about situational awareness for a long time because of my other business. I'm a guy that I don't know how much you listen to the show, what it is, but my family business, second generation PI. So I've been following people since I've been a teenager. So I've been on that side of it for over 3 decades. It's amazing. It still floors me today that how overall easy it is to follow somebody all day and then never absolutely have a clue you're doing it.
No, I agree.
You know?
I agree. And people are so preoccupied, especially with their phones and.
Oh, the phones are the best thing to ever happen for PI, because not only don't they notice you, Don, they don't even notice. They don't take their eyes off the road, right? They're on they don't even look up to see where they're going. They're actually watching TV or watching their phone while driving.
Yeah. How many people you see them driving down the highway? The police officers right behind them, blue lights flashing in the mirror, and they don't. The people don't even look in their mirror.
They don't know, right? The trooper has to hit that womp womp a couple times.
Yeah, I'm an outdoorsman, a hunter, and a fisherman, so I know a lot about pursuing game and being stealthy and the whole bit. And it is true, like I said, you can stalk up on somebody and sneak up on somebody, and they don't even know you're there. So keep that situational awareness, folks. And
100%.
And I've always said, and obviously, this might get a little chuckle out of your listeners. Like I always say, every woman should be armed except the crate. Never mind.
Yeah. True. Hopefully we weed that out in the application process, but you never know. You never know.
Tongue in cheek.
Yes,
tongue in cheek.
Absolutely. A little fun on the holiday weekend. Be very Christian about it. Happy Easter, Don. Thanks for the call.
Everybody. Bye.
Bye now. All right, 508-871-7000, folks, to join the conversation. Again, look, he made a perfect case, doubling up on what I said. Have situational awareness. It's not that difficult, right? When you're stepping out of the building, take a second and scan. Just scan what's around you. Scan the parking lot. You know, is there a strange vehicle there or anybody that doesn't look right to you? I'm not telling you to profile and all that. But we are creatures of habit. So most of the time, you're going to be in an area or environment that you've been a million times, right? You're coming out of your house, you're coming out of your place of work, you're coming out or going in to a restaurant or store that you've been to many, many times. That tends to be just how we behave as humans, which also helps in the surveillance or investigation of somebody, because again, once you know their habits, you can pretty much tell where they're going to go, what they're going to do each day. But coming out of the restaurant, the shopping center, or wherever you go, or you're coming out of your office, take a look around, see who's there and what is happening. And it doesn't hurt to always be thinking of a plan, right? There's nothing wrong with having an exit strategy here, right? Always thinking about what you can do. And if you aren't someone who believes in having fine accessories like Dawn or myself, then there are other things that you can do. There are things for keychains, right? There are pepper spray and mace, even keeping a can of wasp spray in your car is fine. The point is, have a plan, be aware of what's going on around you. I have a habit of never getting nose end into a situation. What do you mean by that? Well, the car. I never pull up so close to the car in front of me that I couldn't turn and drive around it or take off if I wanted to. All right? Don't box yourself into that situation. You come up to a red light, you're so close under the bumper in the car in front of you. If somebody tried to hijack that car, carjack you, you really have no place to go except ram the car in front of you. Leave enough space that you can turn the wheel left or right and get out of there. Kind of moving into a whole different type of show, I guess, at this point. We'll save that for the LPDAM segment. I guess we can do that. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. So the buses have arrived. Jesse Waters got a lot of pushback and criticism and name calling because he made the same observation I was making when I was watching the buses, and I'm thinking to myself, these guys they look pretty good. They're well dressed, they've got Nikes and high tops and clean clothes and nice watches, and I'm saying, okay, I wonder what the deal is with that. And so he gets a lot of pressure, a lot of pushback about that. The only difference is I was watching it alone in my studio and thinking it. He was on the 5 talking about it. So the buses, this is the third bus to arrive. And what Governor Abbott has done is he's utilized the the Texas emergency management, right? This is where the funds are coming for. This is who he has it coordinated with. And that's how he's doing that. So earlier in April, he directed the Division of Emergency Management to accept requests from mayors and county judges who are dealing with illegal immigrants released from federal custody in their jurisdictions. So apparently, if you contact Texas Emergency Management and you're in another state on the way and they have room, they'll swing by, I guess, and help you out, getting some people from wandering around your streets out of your state. Federal custody from their jurisdictions, so they can coordinate the travel of these immigrants by bus, plane, or some other means to Washington and other locations outside the state of Texas. Again, some of those other locations were Rehoboth Beach and even Martha's Vineyard. So, The division referred inquiries to Abbott's office. They didn't respond to requests. The move was part of a multi-pronged plan. No kidding. Multi-pronged plan to respond to what both federal and Texas officials project will be an increase in illegal immigration as the administration ends its use of the pandemic era authority, right, Title 42, to enable quick expulsion of aliens, which is a whole nother discussion. If the pandemic situation and the health and safety part of COVID-19 is such that we can end Title 42 and not fear it, why would he at the same time, in the same week, extend mask wearing on airplanes? Airplanes that are built to have fresh air every 6 minutes. That's the typical time, replacement time of air on a jet line or an aircraft. Not the little puddle jumpers, right? I'm talking the 747s, the big planes. They take off. They're sucking in new air, replacing the air on the plane every 6 minutes. So you're not breathing everybody's coughs and sneezes and those idiots who take their shoes off on a flight, right? You have fresh air. And we gave billions of dollars to the school systems, billions of dollars to the school systems to build the same type of air cleaning and rotation or replacement systems for our schools. But that hasn't been happening. And I've always said this from the moment I heard how much money was going out to these school systems. The General Accounting Office should have a team of people following every cent of that. It seems every couple of years, the story hits about the superintendent of Chicago schools or something that embezzled $2 or $3 million, or somehow finagled the bagel to have an addition put on their home or house remodeled or some other such thing. When you're talking about this kind of money, and we're into the trillions, right, that we have printed and put out there, the percentage of inherent fraud that exists in every federal program is multiplied and compounded by the original amount of money put out there. You know, if that makes sense to you. But if there's $1 million grant put out to something and it's 5% is we lose to fraud, okay. But 5% of $3 trillion, that's a lot of money, man. And we know that 500 billion, I'm going to say that again, right? 500 billion with a B, folks, is been fraudulently done in that PPP thing. People have scammed it with phony corporations, claiming employees they don't have, even companies that don't exist. Think about that. $500 billion. That's a lot of money. And think about how that could have been better spent, especially when we find out that some of these checks have gone to foreign countries, have actually left the United States of America. That's crazy, folks. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. We're going to take a quick break, and we will come back on the other side as we continue the Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on this Easter weekend.
Dr. Satya Mitra has journeyed from a childhood of poverty and homelessness to a successful career as a financial advisor, motivational speaker, and community leader. Now inspired by his guru, he uses his experiences to positively affect the lives of underprivileged people. We strive to house our blindness, poverty, homelessness, female empowerment, and good citizenship initiatives within the Joy Guru Humanitarian Center. If you wish to contribute or know deserving persons or initiatives that could use our assistance, please contact us at 508-641-8441.
Chris Thompson here, station manager at WCRN. I need salespeople. If you're retired or a stay-at-home mom looking to make a few extra dollars, this opportunity is perfect for you. Work part-time, set your own schedule. It's fun. We provide the training you need to succeed. The only thing better than listening to Howie Carr is selling Howie Carr. If you're outgoing, not afraid to learn new things, and would like to earn some extra money, call me at 508-870-5803, extension 222. Stop making money selling radio.
WCRN is an equal opportunity employer.
All money managers may seem pretty much the same. But while some money managers may recommend high commission investment products, Fisher Investments avoids them. Some money managers may have hidden and layered fees. Fisher Investments never does. And while some money managers are happy to earn commissions from you, whether you do well or not, Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when you do better. In other words, we're structured to be on your side. Maybe that's why most of our clients come to us from other money managers. Talk with us and find out why so many experienced investors are switching to and staying with Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments, clearly better money management. Investments in securities involve the risk of loss. Visit us at FisherInvestments.com to find out what we can do for you.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. And now back to the most interesting man in the world. Sharks have a week dedicated to him. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment of the Friday, or I should say Good Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. And this Sunday, Easter Sunday, your talk block will be there, but it will be a replay of pre-aired shows. Myself, Mike Wade, Peter Blue. So please join us Easter Sunday and enjoy, of course, the most high holy holiday with your family and friends as well. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Joe has been waiting patiently. Hey, Joe, thanks for calling and thanks for joining us. Happy Easter to you.
Happy Easter to you and your family, Joe, and thanks for having me, and thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
We know there's a lack of vetting going on in the southern border. We don't know basically where these people are coming from. We don't know any of their background. As also, a lot of the refugees we've taken in from the Middle East, the same thing. We don't know of their background. We don't know any kind of vetting. And let's talk about something that's not so easy to talk about when it comes to the vetting process. The cultures that we're importing into our country, how do they feel about the rights of women? Do they believe in child brides? And we know that the two cultures that are flooding into our country don't have any respect for women. They believe that a woman is ready for womanhood at the young age of 12 and 13. How do we adjust their mind of thinking? And, we've known that our legislature has been changing the laws for 16 and 17-year-old young ladies to go and get abortions on their own without their parents' consent. And I want to know if this ties into all the people that they're letting flood into this country with their very, very backwards ways of thinking towards our classes of our women.
Well, interesting, because an interesting point that you make and how you tie that together, right? The changes that we see, how is that connected to it? I also propose this to you, Joe, and everyone else. First of all, before I do that, let's kind of agree, I hope, and remind that one of the aspects to migrating to the United States, and it's a part that seems that a lot on the left forget, is the assimilation aspect. That nobody is saying to lose your identity or your culture. My Italian grandparents didn't lose that. The Irish grandparents on my mother's side, for crying out loud, I can sing the best of the Irish tunes with anybody in any Irish pub, because I grew up listening to the Clancy Brothers and all of those artists that my mother played. So nobody says give up the culture, give up the history. No, but you do need to assimilate. And I don't know if you listened to the kind of the surprise show on Wednesday I did this week. I was talking exactly about this and about the need to reform this. And not only do you have to say, well, wait a minute, to the left, right, who's so open and porous borders, who don't seem to even intellectually grasp the concept of a sovereign nation and a defined border. They can't seem to understand the difference between legal immigration and illegal immigration. They just want to say immigration, and they want you to say immigration. They don't want you to use or denote it with legal or illegal, because they want it all to be the same. But I add to that the women and how they are looked at. What about the LGBTQ community? To all of those very compassionate people on the left. What about those people who are coming from nations where LGBTQ is illegal? It's illegal in 71 countries. In
they're
60
persecuted.
countries, they're allowed to be put in prison or put to death. And these are the people who are coming into the country, and a lot of them refuse to give up Sharia law or give up their beliefs and their ways. They don't want to assimilate, and they would rather change this country to what they left, which, of course, Joe, you have to say, if you want to change this country to where you came from, why did you leave?
Why did you start off in the country you were in? You know, it's very interesting because, you know, our immigration system allows the new immigrants to be able to hit the ground running. They learn the language, they learn the laws. Yes, it does take 4, 5, 6 years, and they have a skill to come in, and they hit the ground running, and they're not, you know, left defaulted to the side. You know, they have skills, they have the language, they have all the things it's going to take to have a successful life in our country. And, you know, that's what we want coming into our country.
Yeah.
We don't want to struggle. We don't want to end up on the side of the road with cardboard signs.
No, we have enough of that. We have plenty of homegrown people who are in that situation. We have vets who could use some of that $500 billion that was fraudulently misappropriated from the PPP program. So the question is, and again, I don't want to go back to the show I did the other day, but Joe, this is exactly what I was talking about, that I have said for a long, long time that we need to address the immigration issue. And the first thing that we do is secure the border. Until that's done, and it needs to be done simultaneously with the rest of the program, but until you actually secure the border, define it, secure it, and lock it down, and don't stop the million plus that legally come anyway, but maybe it's time that we secure the border and that we also look at the process and say, look, Joe, if this family spent $3,000-$4,000 per person on the coyotes and the cartel to come over, that means that money could have been taken. You can buy an airplane ticket, fly in the country legally, tell us who you are, and prove to us you have enough money to get an apartment, set yourself up, because we're going to register you, and we're going to give you those same papers, some kind of form of temporary permission to work. There are over 10 million jobs open right now in this country that Americans aren't filling. So let people who want to build a better life for themselves come to the country, legal, up front. And the other part of this, Joe, I always say, is when you come into the country, we're going to make it easier. We're going to streamline it. You're going to prove that you are either sponsored, right? Somebody's sponsoring you and saying, I'm financially responsible. They can live with me. I'm going to feed them. They're not going to be a drain on American taxpayers. Or they say, we've got $8,000, $10,000, whatever. We have enough for security first, last. You let me work and we'll take care of yourself. But we got to know who they are, Joe.
We have to, Joe.
We have to know, right? So they have to, you can't come in here with whatever name you feel like it, and you can't change it in 6 months. They're
coming in, Joe. They're coming in knowing more about us than we know about them.
Oh, absolutely. And typically what's done, and this got, people broke this down for me who do this, who live this kind of life off air, of course, right? And for the purpose of me understanding, they've explained how they do this. And most of the time what they do is they actually rent the IDs from people in Puerto Rico. So someone in Puerto Rico who isn't planning to relocate to the mainland, to the States, they say, yeah, here's my date of birth and my name. Here's the paperwork. You use that and pretend you're Puerto Rican, right? And that's that. And then they're making money off this people because they got to pay them for the use of the ID, Joe. But then later, once they've kind of, they got a job, they got an apartment, they're building a life in America, and they want to go buy a car. They're going to go back to that person in Puerto Rico and pay them more money to allow them to get a car under their name, and then maybe a house, right? So this is a business for people in Puerto Rico.
We also have countries in South America like Venezuela, where there's countries of Iran have a lot of influence in those countries. How do we trust their passports? They could be fraudulent.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We just don't know who's coming in, Joe.
Exactly, Joe. And that's why the use of biometrics, I think, is so very important. And by the way, when Jen Psaki is talking about these, we're giving these smartphones out now, right? So not only do they, cross the Rio Grande, they get here, and they don't have to run and hide. They literally, hey, to the first CPH, the first Customs Border Patrol person, because all we've turned them into, Joe, are processors. They get the paperwork and they get a phone, so they get a present. And yes, then they can go to New York and they can vote in the New York elections and the California, and that's a scary avenue. That's a very, the camel's nose is under the tent, right? That's not a good thing, a road. And to hear people, I think it was Eric Adams actually who said something to them defending it, saying, well, these people come here and they work, or they should get to vote. Well, they should actually follow the law, do what they're supposed to do, and then they can vote when they're citizens.
Well, maybe they could run for office too, then, Joe.
Well, they can in California.
Exactly. We can be being led by illegal immigrants holding offices.
When our founding fathers put it as one of the terms to be, say, president of the United States, that you have to be born on American soil, or, as an American, what was the reason for that? Because they were a new country and they realized, well, at some point, a foreign, the king himself at this, because you're going to remember the time, the king or another nation could send somebody over, get kind of embedded like in Cold War, where the Russians did with their sleeper programs, right? The illegals, they had an illegals program, right? So they send someone over, and a few years down the line, they run for president, and now what is really a Manchurian candidate. So they understood the concept of a Manchurian candidate back in the 1700s. They got this, that they didn't want someone whose allegiance was to another country running our country. And they certainly didn't want a president who, although born on American soil and an American citizen, might be owned lock, stock, and barrel by another nation, by the way.
Well,
just saying.
Those type of immigrants are going to get along just fine with our own citizens that hate this country. And, that's what's going on. It's just filters of hate and retribution. And,
Joe, I got to hold you there because it's
Thank you,
against
Joe.
the clock. You have a happy Good Friday and happy Easter to you. Enjoy it with your family.
Happy Easter. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. All right, folks, that's going to wrap up this Good Friday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 and WCRN. I'll be back Sunday morning with a replay. And then, of course, Marathon Monday, right? It's a big time in my family because we grew up in Natick on the route there. Enjoy your holiday, folks. Happy Easter, happy Good Friday. And as Sherry says, we have great weather.
This is Full Service Radio, AM 830, WCRN, Worcester, Metro West.
News, I'm Lillian Wu. Russian forces target the Ukrainian capital with long-range missiles.
Strikes come after Russia's flagship vessel of the Black Sea Fleet, the Moscow, sank. Russia claims a fire on board caused the cruiser to sink, but the Ukrainians do say they hit the ship with 2 Neptune missiles.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Lviv. Now, senior U.S. officials reported as saying the U.S. does believe it was hit by Ukrainian missiles. Ahead of Sunday's Easter basket bonanza, word on the most wished-for treats in them.
Instacart surveyed more than